A few months ago, I uploaded 2 videos on the Cretan lyra and kind of my journey learning the instrument as an adult, and I've received really nice comments and outreach from people on those videos, and I thought because so many people have engaged, I would tell you about a workshop that I attended over the summer in Crete on the Cretan lyra, and just tell you about my experience. So if you watched the videos, and I forgive you if you didn't because I do talk a lot, I'm an adult beginner on an instrument called the Cretan lyra. It's from Crete, which is an island in Greece. I'm also from Crete in Greece. I live abroad, and about 4 years ago when I was 20, I decided to start learning the Cretan lyra, and I've been doing my lessons almost exclusively online the whole time. The way that people learn the instruments in Crete usually, is as children, and they go to traditional music schools, so they have contact with other people that learn the instruments as well, and they do Christmas concerts, summer concerts, so they have this contact not only with other people that play the same instrument in the Cretan tradition, but also other instruments, and they just have a more holistic experience than I have because I've been doing them online. My current teacher, Elias Vlamakis, who has a YouTube channel called Cretan Lyra Lab, had told me when I was doing my lessons before the summer that he was hosting a workshop from the 1st to the 3rd of August in Neo Chorio in Apokorna in Chania on the Cretan lyra. He was doing the Cretan lyra part, his brother was doing the Cretan lauto, and another gentleman whose name I don't remember was on guitar. And it just so happened that I was going to be in Greece at that point in time, so I decided to attend. But I was really nervous because, at that point I had only met Elias once in person, but Elias wasn't the problem at all. It was just I was really anxious about meeting other people that play the instrument because I've been pretty much doing it by myself. I didn't even have friends that play Cretan music until I uploaded my videos. Honestly, I met people from comments in YouTube. Shout out to Michael because I actually met him in Crete, which was really nice. He's a good friend that I made who commented on my first video. But anyways, so Elias also has a website and you can subscribe to his emails, and the workshop was also published on his emails, and it detailed that there would be 2 sessions each day. It would be 3 days long, and that signing up was free. By the end of it, I thought that the free participation is insane because it was basically, I would think, even more than 3 lessons worth of material, 3 private lessons that I got for free. Even if it was paid entry, I would have still paid and thought it was worth it. So I went on the first day, which is in Neo Chorio, and the lyras were in the church. I immediately noticed, because there were 2 sessions, 1 for beginners and 2 for advanced, I did assume that I would be suited for the afternoon session, even though, I'm not even semi-pro, oh my god, not at all, but I'm not awful. Not to say that beginners are awful, but I'm not at that early stage. But I did check with Elias just in case. Obviously he's my teacher, so he knows, and he did tell me yeah, you should go in the afternoon, so I went in the afternoon. So immediately I noticed that there's such a diverse variety of students when it came to age. Mostly were Greek, obviously. There was actually one American, which was interesting, but he spoke Greek really well. But I noticed there was older adults, young adults like me. There were teenagers, and there were children as well. A lot of little boys were actually really advanced, which I thought was really nice. I kind of wish I was learning instruments when I was their age. So I didn't know how the workshop would be structured. Again, I've never gone to a music workshop or anything like that. It ended up being that there would be 3 pieces of music that we would learn on the Friday and the Saturday, and then on Sunday we would meet up with the lauto players, and it ended up being some mandolins in that department as well, and then we would practice together, and at the end of Sunday the guitars would join us, and then we would perform for the guitars, and the guitars would perform for us. And I was really more satisfied when I found out that the guitars actually played pop music, they did not play Cretan music, even though the acoustic guitar in particular exists now in Cretan music ensembles. It's not an instrument from Crete, and the construction of it affects how you play. Obviously, I don't have an issue with it, but at some point I was having a discussion with this gentleman over the summer in one of my uncle's cafes. I have an uncle who's also a lyra player. We were talking about where Cretan music is, where it's going, where it came from, and he was an older gentleman, so obviously he had experienced a lot more than me. But we did kind of have a bit of camaraderie, because I really don't like the bass guitar addition in Cretan music. It has this almost march-like rhythm, like dun 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 dun, that I think is so annoying. It's just so annoying. But anyways, yeah, so the guitars were not playing Cretan music. We're doing something else. So I'm gonna tell you the pieces now. Μην ταξιδεύεις με το νου by Γιώργος Καλογρίδης. We did Καστρινές Κοντιλιές by Στρατής Καλογερίδης. And then we did Άσπρα πουλιά της θάλασσας by Γιάννης Ξυλούρης. That was the hardest of the pieces, and it was my favorite one. It's a bit more minor. It's minor, and the other ones are major, and I just gravitate to those pieces. So of the three that we learned in the workshop, this is the one that I still practice by myself. So the way that Elias presented the music to us is everybody received notation, and on one side the music was notated in the Moudakis system, and then the matinadas were written underneath, and then on the flip side the music was notated in Western notation, and there was no matinadas. I don't know why he didn't put matinadas on the other side, but I had to write them with my pen, otherwise I had to put my bow down to flip the page. And I've briefly spoken about the Moudakis system in my first video, but I absolutely hate it. It's just so not just counterintuitive, but it's very surface level. You don't transcribe the details. I mean, you can invent, this is a big pause, this is a small pause, but there's no note value. Within the range of the lyra, there are 2 C's, 2 D's. It may say that on the Moudakis system that you're gonna play a B, but which B? There's 2 B's. There's just so many small details that don't translate in the Moudakis system, and I respect it, as in I understand why he came up with it. Because if you haven't heard it, basically Moudakis is one of the titans of Cretan music. Moudakis went to see an ensemble. I don't know if it was a workshop or something like that, but he encountered basically Western classical musicians. He saw how these people who had not practiced a piece that they were being given out in Western notation could play it perfectly then and there by reading Western notation. And at the time, I mean, Cretan music is an oral tradition, so it wasn't notated anyways. But Moudakis still, even though he wanted Cretan music to be transcribed and notated, he didn't know notation, so he came up with his own system. But at this day and age, I don't understand why we still continue using the Moudakis system in Greece. I mean, I have a little cousin who is also learning the Cretan lyra and the mandolin, and I take a look at her notes just to see kind of what she's doing. I'm just curious, and it's the Moudakis system, and it's just such chicken scratchings on a paper. I really dislike it. And anyways, but most people were using it. There are 2 ways that people learn music on an instrument, right? So you either read it off of notation, whichever notation, the Moudakis system or Western notation, or you learn by ear, right? So you hear something and then you figure it out on your instrument and play it back. Even though I read notation, I mean, I can sort of sight read. Sight reading is when you play as you read. I really rely on my ears when I learn a piece of music, and in my lessons with Elias, I rely on him playing the melodies on his lyra a lot, and I use recordings of him playing when I'm studying it in my private time. I really rely on my ears. So why is this important? The way that the workshop was running was one person had to play at a time. It was whoever was called on by Elias would play. The rest of us, we could tinker with your fingers, but you couldn't use your bow. And he would play a phrase one time, and then he would pick on everyone to play it back. And I was like, ugh, because hearing it one time I knew it wasn't going to be enough for me to play it back. But whatever, everyone works on their own pace. So when I would play it back, I would half play it back, and then to be honest, I recorded a lot of the playing, and then I would go home after the workshop in the evening and practice it by myself. I was really impressed by how some people, they have insane musical ears. I mean, mine are pretty strong as well, but they could play it back immediately, and then for me, because there are say how many melodies, and then there's different variations of the melodies. When say that I'm learning 4 variations during a lesson with Elias, by the time I'm done playing back the 4th, I've already forgotten the first one, but some people, like, I was really impressed. I was like, wow, like, they're really good, but whatever. I'm not gonna kill myself over like not being able to work to that pace. So we did the 2 pieces on the Friday, and we also did singing with the Madinadas as well. And then on the Saturday we did As Propunillas Thalasas. And then came Sunday. Oh yeah, and then we were practicing a bit more like the first 2 pieces on the Saturday. And then came Sunday, which was really interesting. Sunday was the day that Elias recorded the videos, because the 3 pieces are up on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. So we met up with the Lauta, and then we got to meet them as players as well. Equally diverse. There were children, teenagers, young adults, older adults there as well. Some mandolins as well, which was really nice. And they were learning the same pieces and obviously doing like introductions and stuff that is typically done by the lauta. So by Sunday I had learned all 3 pieces from Saturday and Friday night, so I was fully prepared to just enjoy the experience and play with other people. And Elias kind of told us where to sit. I mean, you can see me in the videos. I had like a colorful dress and my blue liraki, because my regular lyra is too big. I actually wrap up the liraki and bring it with me on the airplane when I go to Greece, and then I put my bow in my checked luggage in like a plastic cylinder. I really enjoyed how on Sunday you had Elias and his brother together leading the sessions. Obviously his brother doing the lauta department and then Elias doing the lyra department. But it was really nice seeing kind of their dynamic as musicians, but also brothers, and just like the atmosphere was really nice and I really enjoyed it. The session was mostly led by Elias, who was also doing some theory on the whiteboard, just explaining like when we come in, the introductions, like who's gonna do that. And then we also kind of came up with how we would end a piece then and there, so we were doing some extra notes on the endings. One thing I really have to tackle is singing. I really avoid it. I mean, I don't do it at all. I don't sing Madinades. I don't know any Madinades. Like, I don't pause my lyra playing to sing a Madinada like I'm supposed to. I just don't enjoy it and don't want to do it. But it was nice because there were so many people there. I mean, I've sang in choirs at school before, so I kind of had an opportunity to sing without being embarrassed because there were so many other people around. So that was really nice. It was also unique in the sense that, typically you would have 1 lyra, 1 or 2 lauta in an ensemble. It's not common to have more than 1 at an ensemble. The only time I've ever seen kind of an orchestra, if you could call it in a way, of Cretan instruments is there's a council that Elias is now president of called Ocharilaos, and they are, I believe Krasadakis came up with it. It's like a music council focused on Apokorona, which is a province, that workshop was in Apokorona. So they've done some performances where they all play. It's a council made up of musicians, Cretan musicians, and they do performances quite often. I went to one of them in Kefala, actually, I think before the workshop took place, and they do performances like all together. Typically you don't have that kind of mass of the instruments playing together in an ensemble, so it was a really nice opportunity. And obviously it was really nice having, because it was like 3 private lessons really with the material that we learned. It's always important, I think, in my opinion, on top of having the notation or and the videos or however you learn a piece of music, to have a teacher to give you instructions and to correct you when you make mistakes. I mean, there were some directions that Elias gave that you just wouldn't be able to tell if you played by ear or just from notation or just from watching a video. It's just like really meticulous details that made the experience really insightful. Beyond the workshop, I did a lot of musical stuff or went to musical performances. I got to see the Padermakia brothers perform live for the first time in Ovgoro, which is a tavern in Malaxa. I decided this summer that, because typically I would watch Cretan music live in Panegyria, Gledia, kind of festival-like events where the music is really loud. They play in a very typical style, And I hadn't really listened to Cretan music in like a shop environment, like in a tavern where they've booked musicians. That was the atmosphere that I had watching the Padremakia in Ovgoro, and I loved it. I decided, I would actually rather, see Cretan music live in a tavern environment than in a gledi or a panegyri. I don't dance anyways. I've just not put my head down to figure it out. Actually, my friend Michael tried to teach me, bless him, but I don't really gravitate to dancing anyways. So watching them at the shop, like, they played like songs. Obviously they did that kind of heavy style, like more traditional type of playing towards the end, but I loved almost the ambience that they gave at the start. So anyways, I saw the Padremakia. I saw Elias in Kefala when I saw Ocharilaos perform, and I saw some other people. I saw Vangelis Trendafilou, who's a luthier I mentioned in the video where I spoke about the instruments. I've seen it kind of quite a few times. He changed the strings on my blue lyraki recently and stuff like that. I bought some strings from him as well. Then I did see Elias and his brother perform somewhere else. I forgot. In Kaina, I remember. So I went and I watched him in Kaina. That was a panegyri setting. Then I watched, I believe, Podikakis. Let me see. Yeah, it was Podikakis. You can see, because I kept it as a enthymio. Like, I need to glue this in my diary. Podikakis, he played in Lulos in Keramia. I'm from Keramia. And that was the first time that we had, like, was it a gledi or a panegyri? That was the first time that we had a panegyri in Keramia, so obviously I had to go. I don't know, I felt a bit judged because my grandma passed away when I was there in the summer. Yeah, so this happened on the 16th of August. My grandma passed on the 9th. And, in Crete, they have a lot of rules for mourning and expectations of how someone mourns appropriately. Obviously, it's in line with Orthodox Christianity. The first 40 days, one of the things that people do out of mourning is they don't attend places that have live music. And actually, musicians are not even supposed to play for the 40 days. I was thinking, I was like, because I was practicing while I was in Greece in the summer. I was like, should I not practice for the first 40 days? But I was like, this is so ridiculous. It doesn't, just because I'm playing music doesn't mean I'm not grieving my grandma and stuff. It's not gonna bring the deceased back to life. The point is, I attended this event even though my grandma had passed, and I did notice some people did kind of stare, and I think they were being judgmental about me attending. Obviously, it's a small world, so everybody knows each other, but like at some point we asked like this distant relative that lives nearby, you didn't attend, like what happened? And they said that they didn't attend because they're in mourning for my grandma. Like, obviously they're relatives of my grandma, but I don't know, I felt like if I want to see live music, I'm going to see live music. So this is when I saw Ocharilaos in Kefala. I kept that as well. Then I also saw in Irakli, I went with Michael, that friend I met here. I went to this, I don't know Irakli. I saw these guys over there. I mean, he knows better. I went to a lot of music stuff is what I'm trying to say. So I had a really enjoyable musical summer in Crete. Good night.